Hello, everyone. Welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Julia Masaska, and I'm your host. And I'm joined today by the amazing Lizzie Campbell.
Hey, hi, everybody.
Lizzie, it's so great to have you here for day 2 of this amazing branding and identity stream. So yesterday we already did a bunch of work. I mean, you did. I was just watching and enjoying. And so welcome everybody in the chat. We have Vuduva, we have Vikram here, Gareth is here. Who else? Rick is here also, and Wade. Awesome. So guys, if you all are joining us from YouTube, make sure to head over to be.net/Adobe Live. This is where we are reading the live chat, and this is where you get the chance to ask questions. So make sure to head over there and hang out with us. Also, let us know in the chat where you all are tuning in from, what time it is in your country, and if you were there yesterday or if it's your first time. Also, let us know if you're a designer, a professional designer, or if you're a newbie, if you're self-taught, or if you went to school. We all are interested in all of these things. And then in about 90 minutes, we'll have an artist spotlight, which is a super, super cool thing where we get to highlight a specific artist. And you can submit any artist to the artist spotlight, which you can find above the chat where it says Artist Spotlight. Just click on it and then fill out the form. And you can also, of course, nominate yourself or any of your designer friends. So this is going to happen in about 85 minutes now. Yeah, very excited. Lizzie, what are we going to be doing today, or what are you going to be doing today? Because I'm just going to be talking and having fun. You're going to be working. So what are you going to be working on today?
Yeah, so yesterday we started putting together a brand identity for a home goods and decor boutique. So we got a lot done, as you can probably see from my mess of an artboard, but we're just gonna keep kind of refining things. And then I've got some mock-ups that I want to put together just to kind of show how these things would look a little bit more in context. And then if we have some time at the end, I will probably share a little bit about how I would put this together for a client presentation as well, because we had a lot of questions about that yesterday. So yeah.
Yay, so exciting. And again, I wanted to mention your quote that you have on your social media that says, behind every great designer, there is a chaotic artboard.
Yeah.
So go follow Lizzie on her Instagram. This is her profile, where you can go follow her work, Asteria Studio Co. And give her some love, like some of her posts, check out her reels. She has some amazing reels there. And yeah, cool. Well, happy to connect with y'all. So that's great. You can also find our Behance profiles in the info box above the chat. So also feel free to follow Lizzie there, check out her work, and see the case studies that she has published. She has some amazing stuff out there.
Thanks. Yeah, so cool. I will just kind of dive in, I guess.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So I'll do a quick recap for anybody that was not here yesterday. So we're putting together a brand identity for a store called Sable Home. It's kind of this cutesy little like gift shop, like I was saying. So here's kind of our mood board inspiration kind of color palette that we're working off of. So here is kind of what we've had put together so far. This is kind of like the main logo. And then we've kind of started working on some like brand marks, sub logos, and made a little pattern. And then kind of got into some like more product like mock-ups or like print applications as well. So I'm going to kind of play around a little bit more with some of these brand marks to get us started. And yeah, we'll just kind of see what unfolds. Just pretty much my design philosophy.
Yay. Yeah, let's do it. Cool.
So I was playing with these earlier today because I felt like I wanted some more I don't know, some more intricate, I guess, brand marks other than just the like S. It's just cute, but I want some a little more like serious, I guess. But I'm not sold on this one yet. So I'm gonna kind of tweak it and see what we can come up with.
Yeah. And we're always talking about logo design and how it's always useful to have multiple lockups.
Mhm.
So, and that is just to be able to use the logo in different situations, right? So sometimes you'll use the logo on the website, sometimes you're going to be using it on in print, and depending on the size of the logo that you're using, sometimes you want to create different lockups, so different variations and arrangements, so that the logo is functional in different scenarios, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many um different applications, I guess, that people don't necessarily think of. They kind of just have the eye on the prize of like the main logo, especially like a lot of business owners and stuff when they first like reach out to you. Um, that I've found anyways. So kind of like going through and maybe educating them on like why they might want these extra things. I always get a lot of questions sometimes from prospective clients of like, well, what does that mean? What is this? Like, why do I need these? I just want a logo.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of helps to go through and say like, well, there are times when, your main logo would be like way too small to be legible or, various things like that. And again, I always say that all of these little extra things really go about like fleshing out the brand itself, because your brand really is more than just your main like logo mark.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what's the usual for you? What are the usual kind of lockups that you're creating for your clients?
Yeah, so typically, like I'll kind of show you, like this is what I would consider like the main like logo that they will probably be using on most things. Um, I always try to do a more like horizontal kind of lockup as well, just because I'm also a web designer. So I've found that a lot of times like this is really, really pretty, but it might take up way too much space like at the top of a website for the header to really be functional. So I try to do like a longer version. And then these little like extra things like these marks are just really great for like just various applications. Like this would be a great sticker for packaging. This would be great for like a social media profile picture because it's big enough to be seen at such a really tiny like size. So there's just so many things. I feel like with product based, I would say businesses, there's a lot more room for like adding on lots of fun stuff. But I would say also like I've come to find a lot of use for these extra things in service based businesses as well, because my typical client kind of runs the gamut between like creative
Mm,
services and like product or like physical kind of e-commerce.
yeah.
So these kind of things are fun to just like sprinkle throughout like a website or like business cards, just something that makes it look a little bit more, like I said, like fleshed out and cohesive, I would say.
Nice. Awesome. Hi, Laura. Laura is joining us right now. There's Arshad also. Um, cool. Say hi in the chat. Come join us
Yeah.
and don't be shy. You can also feel free to ask questions. Lizzie is a very knowledgeable designer. She has a lot of experience working as a freelancer.
Yeah.
So come and ask questions if you have any.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm gonna put this together this morning, this kind of like monogram thing, but I want to play with it a little bit more because I'm not like 100% sold on this like S shape. So that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment. I feel like I've really fallen in love recently with using these kind of like monogram or like using the initials of the brand or business in a unique kind of way that's like graphic, but also still like kind of legible too. I feel like I'm like a total sucker for anything that has like hidden meaning or like double meaning or something like that in design. So I love doing these kinds of things too.
Yeah, like clever little things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. That's fun. I love when designers customize typography also with a
Mm-hmm.
with a brand in mind and really kind of adding a little bit more character to the letters.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of fun. We talked about that. We did that kind of yesterday too. It just makes it like a little bit more little bit more like customized to, your client's needs or to the brand's needs, which is always important.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Vikram is saying good midnight, everyone. Nice. Jen is here joining us. These look very lovely, very cozy feeling. Yeah, I think that's exactly what Lizzie wanted to achieve. This cozy, warm, at home feeling, very comfort driven.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like just something that I don't know, like I have this vision of like walking into the store and it just smells like vanilla and like, I don't know, it makes you just want to be like really, really cozy. If you can't tell, I'm like all about coziness and like
I think many of us got into coziness during the pandemic when people started spending more time at home with their dog or with their pets, with their cats. So yeah, and you also have a dog, right?
I do. I have a 8-month-old Welsh corgi. Her name is Phoebe.
Oh, so cute. I love it. I also have a dog. Her name's Blondie. She's a golden doodle and she's very big.
Yeah.
But she thinks she's really tiny.
I feel like that's always the case with like big dogs. They think they're lap dogs still.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's so true. Let us know in the chat if you're a dog or cat person, or maybe you're a reptile person.
Oh yeah, it's all sorts of fun critters.
Maybe a bird person.
I had this idea of like making the H into like a little house yesterday, and I wasn't like thrilled with how it was going, so I kind of abandoned it. But I just feel like I can get there, so I'm playing with that again.
That's cool. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Sometimes you go back to ideas that you kind of abandoned and just try to find, because I feel like during the design process, we make so many connections in our brain that sometimes maybe looking at the same thing can give you a different idea or different, like input that you can do with that specific concept.
Yeah, and let's see if I can find it in my mess. But yeah, so this was the one that I was kind of working on. I just think it was too like chunky, which is like what I wasn't like really liking. So this kind of like thinner stroke might be a little bit better, because we have a lot of kind of like hand drawn, handmade looking things, but I do want to kind of have options that look a little bit more crisp maybe, so that it's not like fully on the like handmade spectrum.
A little bit more refined, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. And we have also Gareth joining us. Hi, good to see you. And Jen is saying my dog is 11, less than 10 pounds, and thinks he's one of the big guys.
Oh yeah, that's what my dog is like too. She thinks that she can go up against like all of the big dogs at daycare.
That's so cute. And she's 8 months, right?
Yeah. Yep. I've always been, I had dogs like growing up and stuff, but I've had like a cat for the last 7 years. So I've always been like kind of a cat person. So it's been a learning curve having like a puppy, very energetic, rambunctious puppy in our apartment.
That's so cool. We had yesterday our neighbors bring their cat over, and my dog is obsessed with cats. She loves cats, but for some reason cats don't love her back, because obviously they're probably scared of her size. And so whenever she meets a cat, she has a bad experience. But that cat, our neighbor's cat, is just so relaxed and so not scared at all, so brave. So she was just like walking around. The cat was walking around and my dog was just like following it around and just looking at it. Didn't really know what to do with it, but I was so happy to meet a cat, that's not trying to like scratch or that's
funny. I know that's what my puppy is like with our cat. Like she just wants to be friends, but the cat has no desire to be friends whatsoever.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Cool. And Uma Kern is here. Hi. Good to see you. Awesome. We have a couple more people joining us. Let us know where y'all are from. If you just joined us, say hi in the chat. Don't be shy. Don't be scared. Feel free to ask questions. And if you are just joining us on YouTube, head over to be.net/Adobe Live. Hi, Unicorn. Saying hi to me. Yay. Awesome. So who of you is attending Adobe Max? Let me know. Who of you signed up, and who of you signed up for some of the sessions already and kind of started planning? That'd be great to know. Have you heard of Adobe Max, Lizzie?
Yeah. Yes. So I definitely need to sign up for it. I got distracted last time, but I think I went maybe last year. Was it virtual too last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. I kind of like that. I mean, I miss some like in-person events, but also like being able to do the virtual things of like things that I would not be able to attend otherwise. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think so before, Adobe Max was kind of like you have to travel somewhere, you have to spend some money, you also have to pay an entrance fee and so on. So it was not very accessible for everybody, especially if you are outside the US. So I'm so happy that even people, in different other countries, even different continents can be part of it and can get all those amazing technology development inputs that they were not able to get before. And plus, that it's free, it's even more amazing. I think it's really cool that that Adobe Max is, I mean, COVID brought some, the pandemic brought some bad things, but also some good things into the world, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of things shifted that, like a lot of like the work from home stuff. I think it's like, well, why haven't we been doing this the whole time?
Yeah.
So it wasn't good. Obviously, it's not good, but there have been some like cultural shifts that I think are kind of nice that I hope stick around.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the working in jogging pants.
Yeah, for sure.
In pajamas, work in pajamas. Yeah.
I know, cool. I feel like I could not go back to working in an office now.
Right. And we have Dawn also joining us. Good to see you. And Umacorn is saying signed up, only added 2 XD sessions to the schedule. Come on, join my session. I'm going to do a session there, a lab actually, on designing scalable marketing assets. So come and join me. I'd love to have you all there. Laura is saying, I took a holiday for the whole week, so I'll be on Max every day.
Oh, fun.
That's awesome. I think one of the most important things to see is like the keynote where kind of all the tools are being talked about, all the new kind of innovations. And then there's also the sneak session, which is also really amazing, where you get an insight in future ideas. So things that aren't out yet, but are kind of in planning and in development and work progress, but they're still not basically out in the world, which is, I think, super, super exciting. I love the sneaks.
Yeah, it's fun having that like insider knowledge.
Yeah, for sure. And Dennis is joining us from Dubai. Good to see you. Francis is also here. And Dennis is saying hi. Hi, Lisa. Okay. Cool. And Vuduval is saying, I think that the one good thing that came from this, if we can look on the bright side and try to find a positive, is companies now see how working from home is an option. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree.
Well,
cool. Yeah, and Vuduval is also saying, I think it's hard for some people, but I hope it's something that stays for the sake of mental health. Cool. Felipe is here. Hi, good to see you. Felipe is here from Colombia. And what do you like the most about design? I think, Lizzie, that's a good question for you. What do you like most about design or design work?
Yeah, that is a good question. I always say, like, I really love typography. I think even before I was a designer and like learned, graphic design, I always had an eye for like like packaging that had cool fonts and stuff like that. So that's like probably one of my favorites. And then I would say like playing around with color is probably the other thing that I really enjoy. Just have like always really I don't know, had an eye for color. When I was a teenager, I wanted to be a fashion designer. So it's always kind of been like in the realm of like design somewhere. So just being able to like be creative for a living and play with like colors and shapes and fonts is probably my favorite, I guess, aspect of it. What about you, Julia?
That's awesome. My favorite part is, so I do branding and packaging for businesses.
Mm,
And I think the reason why I kind of got into that is because I can see how design can solve a problem, an actual
mm,
problem. And not only related to branding and kind of building a business, but design can also solve a problem, um, can solve systematic problems. There is a So if you think about design thinking, and design is actually problem solving, right? So we have a
mm,
specific problem that we target, and then we see how what are the solutions for that, and what
mm.
solution will have which result, and how to get from A to B, basically. And
Yeah.
I think it's super exciting how design can kind of like solve problems, and maybe even have an impact on society.
Mm,
And not even maybe, I think it's a fact that it does, because we see a lot of kind of designers using their skill to really put out a message out there, put out a statement
mm.
that that can definitely make others think, and maybe change systems.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I love that about design. And
Mm,
specifically about my work, I love helping businesses to
mm,
thrive, to kind of to be able to have more control, and to really bring their products out there,
mm.
uh, when they start understanding their audience, and when they start designing, or bringing out the content that's useful for their audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I know my main kind of focus and my main um, majority of clients are like small business owners and entrepreneurs and stuff. And I just really love getting to help, those kind of people. Yeah, like get their business out there, get noticed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm very passionate about like helping like small business specifically. I think that's
Absolutely.
another like tentatively good thing that came from the pandemic, because I feel like there was a big push, especially at the beginning, to really help support those like small businesses and stuff, which I thought was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to see people kind of coming together and supporting small businesses, sharing them on social media, all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of inspiring, but
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you just did to your little house icon. You've rounded up the corners a little bit on the inside. I feel like it also makes it look just a little bit more crafty, right?
yeah, I've been doing that, or I've done that a few times with things on projects recently. I just feel like it looks almost like it was like ink kind of drawn in a way. So it's
Yeah,
like bleeding like a little stamp or something like that. I just feel like it
yeah,
looks a little bit more softer.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It also adds character
Hmm.
to the actually perfect vector outlines, right?
Yeah, something a little less like perfectly symmetrical and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love
I
that.
don't know. I kind of like this little house, but I don't know if it really fits with the rest of it. But I think I'll just leave it alone for now and see what we kind of come back to.
Yeah, sounds good. Why not? I love how you have like little boxes of things, like little spots with like
Hmm.
a bunch of ideas, and they're all kind of like sorted in patches.
Yeah, I know. I feel like we were talking yesterday. Like I just kind of like copy and paste everything like a bunch of times. Like that's what I was doing down here, because I'm never sure. Like maybe I don't end up liking what I did and wanted to like go back. So I kind of just keep like one of each iteration around. So
Hmm.
I end up with these little, you can almost see the like path. Like I started
Yeah,
up here and it just kind of like works its way down here.
yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of like from top to bottom, from left to right, kind of like the way we
Mm-hmm.
read.
Yeah.
It's super cool. Yeah, and Jen is also saying the rounded edges on the house make it less stiff as well and give it more
Mm-hmm.
personality. Totally
Yeah.
agree. All right, we have a question by Vuduval. Lizzie, what are your favorite AI tools or Illustrator tools that you absolutely cannot live without?
That's a good question. I feel like I end up using the well, I was doing it earlier, the path and then like outline stroke. So I like to like do things with the like line tool. So like I was doing with that house and then kind of like outline it and join it all together. So it's like one kind of like vector with endpoints as opposed to like a live line. And then I can kind of manipulate it more. So I find myself doing that a lot. I was saying yesterday, I really love the smooth tool to kind of like reshape things. Like we did that with the main logo just because, let's see, I think this is the live, yeah, this is the live text. And this is kind of what I like smoothed out because I wasn't a fan of the kind of like jittery edges over here. So I find myself using that one a lot as well. And then another one I think that I really couldn't live without is image trace. So I do a lot of like, if I do like hand-drawn things on my like iPad or something like that, if I don't do it like in Illustrator, so it's not like vector immediately, like then I can kind of drag it into Illustrator on my computer and do like the image trace so that it turns into a vector that I can then like manipulate a lot easier, but it doesn't necessarily lose that like hand created look to it as well. So I use that a lot.
I love that too. I think it's so cool how you can so easily translate a photo or any kind of image into vectors. And
Yeah.
every time I show that to my students, they're like, wow, this is so cool. This is so easy. And yeah, I've been using that a lot in the daily creative challenges also. It's just such a magical tool.
It
It's so
is.
quick, right?
Yeah, that was one of those things that when I like learned how to use it properly, I was like, wow, like what have
Yeah.
I been doing the rest of this time?
Yeah. Do you have any example that you wanna show maybe so for everybody who's in the chat and doesn't know what the image trace does? Maybe if you have anything that we can trace.
Yeah, a good question. I know I have.
Maybe we can grab something from stock or maybe anything related to your project right now.
Yeah, that would be good. Let's check stock and see.
By the way, stock has some really cool free assets also, guys. You can go into the free section and then you type anything you want. There are amazing presets, there are amazing illustrations, stock photography. So you can feel free to do that, to check it out.
Yeah, there's this Adobe stock is like, it's so fun. I can just get lost like searching various things. Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of trying to find like a sort of like sketchy thing that I can use. That's kind of cute.
I think there are about 70K free assets, 70,000 free assets that have been added last year. So you can find mockups, illustrations, a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I feel like there's like no matter what you're looking for, there's something like on here that you're going to be able to find to work with your project. I like these, but I don't like the background. Let's see if they have other ones. I do that.
Oh, perfect.
Must not be signed in.
All right, everybody look away.
Don't worry, it's hidden.
Good.
There we go.
All right. All right, guys, just for you, image trace. Presented by Lizzie Campbell.
I think it always goes to, there it is. Okay.
Cool.
So what you want to do is drag an image into your Illustrator document. And then I have mine down here in quick actions. I believe it's also yes, it's in object image trace. So if you click on this, there's a lot of presets that will come up. I'm gonna kind of see, oh, that one's not gonna work. I have created a couple of my own, but I don't think that'll work. So I'm gonna see like what black and white logo looks like.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the best one in this case because, yeah, it's best for black and white.
And you can also, if you click on this, you can kind of adjust things too. So we kind of lost a lot of that chalky look, which might be preferable, might not be preferable. So you can play with this noise slider. You can kind of add paths. I'm just going to play around with it until it kind of looks like you want it to look like. So I think that looks pretty good. It looks pretty like true to the document. So then you can click expand. And now you have a vectorized version of it that you can do all sorts of stuff with, and it's infinitely scalable. So and this
Super
works
cool.
for like, you can even do, photograph, like photorealistic things as well too, because there are lots of different presets, like I was saying. So I'm going to see if I can just grab, I don't know. No. We'll see. I'll leave that for now. But yeah, so image trace is a fun one, especially if you can even if you don't have an iPad or don't have like a stylus or something like that, you can even like draw stuff on just like regular paper with your pencil or pen or whatever you want to do, and then just like take a picture or scan it and drag it into Illustrator and do the same thing. So it's really helpful tool.
Yeah, I love it. I sometimes do that when I sketch out logo, maybe some letters or something like that. And I do it sometimes on paper just because I really love the medium of paper, and maybe pen on paper, pencil on paper. And then you can bring that image, just take a picture with your phone or scan it and then bring it into Illustrator, and then you can do the outline and it becomes a vector. So
it's pretty magical.
Yeah, and as Lizzie was saying, vector files or vector images are endlessly scalable. So you can use it on a huge billboard. You can scale it up to a huge size. So that makes it possible when you outline things, when you create a vector.
Yeah, and that's also why, like, if you ever do packaging or anything like that, usually the printer will ask you for an Illustrator or other vector format so that they can, won't have any pixelation or any like goofy things happening with it. So vectors are our friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. All right, so we have a couple of questions. One by Dennis asking, in dealing with clients' deadline, how will you know when it's time to stop doing their revisions?
Yeah. I feel like deadlines are always a fun thing. So what I do is, ahead of like at the start of each of my projects, like I will put together a timeline for both myself and my client. So I'll kind of like lay out, here's when I'm going to have your, initial brand concepts to you to review. You have this many days to get your feedback back to me. And it just kind of goes like that so that both of us are aware of kind of like what the expectations are. And it doesn't always work, but I would say like probably 90% of the time, just having that laid out helps both of us, both myself and the client, know when things are, going to be due and stuff so they can kind of plan accordingly. And then I've found just like, yeah, you kind of have to sometimes push them on it. You sometimes have to be the project manager as well as the designer, creative director, all that good stuff. So, sometimes they'll drag their feet or they'll take forever. I think it's good to remember that a lot of clients, especially if you are working with small businesses and entrepreneurs, haven't necessarily worked with a designer before. So they might just not understand the process. So you can kind of have to, I guess, educate them on that as well, just like an aside. But basically with my packages, I usually do a specific number of like rounds of revisions. So I'll usually do like 2. And if we, need to go past that, then that's something that we can kind of discuss when we hit that point, I guess. But we talked a little bit about how I do the one concept method now, which is kind of what you're seeing here, where I put together a big fleshed out brand before I even send anything to them. So they're not getting like inundated with different possibilities. They're kind of seeing it all in context together. That has really helped cut down on revision time and helped kind of keep my projects on track and moving along. So I would say that's a big one. Just really setting expectations with the client and kind of guiding them through the process as well, and understanding that, they may not know, it might be their first time. So, and then, sometimes you have to set those boundaries too and be a little firm. If they're, continuously asking for a bunch of different revisions, you might, want to say like, usually if you say like, hey, I can do more revisions, but it's going to be an additional charge, they'll suddenly be a-okay with things.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think that's a really important point. You have to put the amount of revisions into the contract.
Mm-hmm.
And before even starting work, you really have to define the scope and the timeline and all the, all the parts of the workflow that you're going to be kind of presenting to the client. So their expectation is set, your expectation is set, and makes it easier to not waste time to you. And the client also knows, hey, I have, let's say, 3 revisions, and I know this is the third, so I kind of have to make a decision. Otherwise, every other revision can be an additional charge, as you say. So yeah, I think contracts are the most important thing.
Yes, absolutely. I see so many new designers on like Facebook groups or something like that saying like, oh, I'm having this problem. And, everyone always asks like, what does your contract say? And they'll be like, oh, I didn't think we needed one. It was just a small project. Like, no matter what it is, if it's small or big, if you know the person or not, if it's your friend, you really need some sort of contract in place, because you just never know.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the amount of revisions, the amount of kind of adjustments that you do you usually kind of suggest the client how many revisions to do, or do you think, or does it come with a package and the client kind of already knows, hey, this is the amount I'm getting, and that's it?
Typically I kind of like lay it out just in the package. Like I said, I usually do, I think actually what I have now is up to 3 rounds of revision. It's been a really long time since since we've needed to use all 3 of them. I would say that's definitely like something I had a harder time like setting those boundaries with when I was first starting out, because it's like, oh no, they're not like happy. Like, what do? I need to like drop everything and make them happy. And that's definitely not sustainable either, if you're wondering. So yeah, just kind of having that. Usually I typically like hop on a like discovery call with my clients before we like book, or before they book with me too. And I kind of run through the process and say like, hey, you'll have, this many rounds of revision. If, for whatever reason, you're still not 100% happy with things, you can choose to purchase more revisions. And so they kind of know that going into it. And so I haven't had any issues with it kind of since then.
Cool. Yeah, totally agree. Awesome. Budava had another question. So about the image trace with a messy sketches that is a little rough around the edges, that smooths it out. I'm not very familiar with Illustrator, and I was trying to do that the other day. I wanted to bring in the shape, smooth it out, and make it a vector, then save it as a transparent PNG with no background. Is that doable?
Yeah, definitely. I would say you can either choose like I showed, kind of playing with those settings on image trace. I don't know if I'll be able to do it again, but just playing with those sliders, you can kind of make it a little bit more like smoothed out. Or if it's kind of looking funky, you can still just kind of like create it, like do the image trace and then use like the smooth tool or like your pen tool and kind of manipulate things until it's how you want it, and then you can save it out. So yeah, I would say it's definitely doable. I've done that, I think, myself too, because I have done, like Julia was saying, like pencil sketches on paper, because sometimes it's just easier to get ideas out that way. But yeah. All right. I feel
Cool.
like we've played around enough. So I feel this is usually like what happens is I'll just keep making stuff, keep coming back to it until everything just kind of feels like it's clicked in place, and then kind of I think we're going to start putting together some mock-ups. And
Yay,
then,
mockups.
yeah.
My favorite part.
Yeah. So
Cool. And Gal is joining us. Hi, good to see you. Awesome. Cool. And Yashu is also here joining. Us has a Hey, Julia and Lizzie, what would you do if you get stuck in the process and you realize you couldn't make it within the time scope in the contract?
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely had, those situations. I think with anything that you're doing that's creative, sometimes it flows really easily and sometimes it doesn't. And I've honestly found just being honest with your clients and saying, hey, like, I'm putting the final touches on things and it's coming along, but I would like a little bit more time to make sure everything looks 100% great before I present it to you or before we like wrap things up. I've never had anyone, get mad at me saying that. Usually they're grateful to know that you'd rather do it right and take the time instead of rush it just to get something to them by your deadline. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And the same experience I also made with my clients. If I tell them, hey, you know what, I wanted to look over it once again and make some like final adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
And usually they appreciate it because they know that you're taking the time for their brand to be perfect. Right. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can push those deadlines and
I think at the end of the day, it's important to remember that like it's not life or death.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's gonna die. Nobody's gonna die if your deadline is getting pushed by a couple of days. I mean, except if it's like a huge brand and they have this huge campaign and it's a huge responsibility with other teams that are kind of playing into it. And you're making last minute decisions and you're not leaving them enough time to produce their assets that they need for the campaign, then maybe it's a big deal. But if you're working with small to mid-sized businesses, usually 1 or 2 days will make the difference.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I don't remember where I heard it, but somebody was saying, there's no such thing as a design emergency. Like your clients don't need to be texting you at, midnight asking about assets or anything. Like it can wait until tomorrow morning.
Exactly. That's so true.
Yeah.
It can.
Use your best judgment, like you said. If it's a really tight deadline for a really big corporation that a lot of things are depending on, then yeah, maybe you want to make that your priority, but rarely is it that big of a deal.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, she was saying, yeah, you're right. Thanks for answering. Cool. More questions.
Yes.
We need more questions. So shoot us questions into the chat if you have any. And Flavia is asking, how do you do the presentation for the client and to your portfolio? Do you have some script to do it?
I have a template kind of thing that I will hopefully have time to show you guys, where I will, bring all of these assets in and then kind of go through and explain, what these are, what they might be used for, how I, made the specific design decisions, things like that. And I found that that's really helped kind of bridge that imagination gap with clients. Previously I would just kind of send like a handful of black and white, logos, and they're like, I don't know what, even if they don't say that they don't know what to do with that, like they don't, it's overwhelming. So I always put together like a nice PDF PDF presentation with, like I said, like the decisions and, explanations about various things. And I also will usually do like a video as well. So I use like Loom to screen record. And then I just go through that PDF that I made them and, call certain things out, maybe explain a little bit more in depth. And it kind of helps like humanize it as well, I would say. Like,
and how do you share that video? Because videos usually are very high, like like a large format. So how do you share those?
Yeah, so the tool that I use is Loom, Loom, and it kind of like automatically will create like a shareable link. Basically, there's a free version that you can do like up to 5-minute videos, I believe, or you can pay like a small fee if you want like unlimited ones. But then it like stores them right there. You can do, there's like a desktop plugin so that you can kind of just like do it all from your computer and then just send them the link to it. And it's nice too because it tells you when they've like viewed it as well. So you can like see
that's cool.
Yeah.
So when you get back to them asking, so did you have the chance to view the presentation? And they say no, you're like, I know you saw it.
Yep. You opened it the second I sent it to you.
Exactly. Yeah. So the invoicing platform I was talking about yesterday, the Hello Bonsai, you can also see when a client saw the invoice or saw the proposal that I've made or the contract.
Oh, cool.
So it's also kind of giving you a good kind of feeling of kind of control, right? And I think there's also stuff like that for email programs. So you can see if somebody saw the email.
There's something, I believe it's called Streak. It's free. It's a Gmail plugin. So if you use Gmail or if you have like your branded like email address through Gmail, you can use it. And it does a whole lot of things, but one of the things it does is tell you like when somebody views your email and like opens it. So it's always, it's interesting to see that. I've had plenty of times where it'll be like, oh, sorry, just now seeing this. I'm like, really? Seems like you saw it already. It can be kind of like, I've had times where I've like turned it off just because it like makes me anxious sometimes. But if you're somebody who likes to know what's going on, then it's like definitely helpful.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. And so kind of like looking at what you're doing right now, can you give us a little insight on the mockups and what's the regular procedure kind of applying the graphics to the mockups that you do?
Yeah. So what I'm doing right now is getting confused, but usually I'll just like copy and paste right from Illustrator, just because it's easier than taking the time to like export everything. But you can copy and paste like from Illustrator right into Photoshop, and then it just kind of pastes as a smart object too, which is nice because then you can kind of go and edit it as well if you need to. But then, so that's kind of what I was doing with these. Typically Photoshop mockups will have all of these different layers, and one of them will, or more, this one has like 3-4 different places that we can add things. So if you just double click on it, then it kind of opens up this smart object. And I've just like pasted this from my Illustrator artboard and just hit save. And then it kind of automatically updates with whatever settings that the PSD mockup has, which is nice.
And a quick kind of intro to somebody who's completely new to Photoshop and doesn't know how to use mockups. What's the usual structure of a mockup and how to access that layer where you can place the artwork?
Yeah, so typically they'll have like, if you get ones from like Adobe Stock or various other places around, they'll have like one layer, say like your artwork here. So it's because there's lots and lots of like adjustment layers and all sorts of stuff in a Photoshop mockup document usually. And so like I was showing you over here on the layers panel, you can see there's like a folder here that says tags that has all of these 3 little hang tags in them. and they have kind of masks over them, but each one has its own smart object assigned to it. So again, if you just double click right here, then it opens it up in a new tab and you can just do that. So it's pretty like simple.
And once you close it, it gets applied to the mockup basically.
Yep. If you just save it, you save the, smart object that opened, and then it'll go there. So if I can.
And do you ever take, because sometimes, the proportions of the smart objects are different. How do you navigate that? How do you know what exactly is the size of the artwork, and, how do you make sure that it fits?
Yeah, there's been times when, so like this tag I think was a good example, but there have been times where if it's like really not like, so this is a lot taller than what I was like originally playing around with. So sometimes I will open the smart object that the artwork goes into and kind of like drag it over to my Illustrator. Oh, I have a dialog open, so it wouldn't let me do it, but you can drag it over. And then,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So then it kind of like, you can like recolor it and stuff too, but
that's
then
cool.
It kind of shows
I didn't know that. I saw another designer, you know what they did? They took a screenshot of the exact thing, and you can just like drag and drop it into Illustrator, and then you have that specific kind of proportion that you can design in. But this is even cooler. Yeah. This is so cool. Okay, good. Good that I asked, because see, guys, we can always learn something from other designers.
Yeah, that was a fun realization when I figured that out. Like, oh, that's a lot easier.
Yeah. Cool.
So then I saved it, and now it's on our tissue paper. That's kind of cute.
That's so cute. Yeah, I love it. I love that, this brand identity that you've created is so versatile. And usually what I do is also I try to imagine, what if there's a possibility to use a pattern, how would a pattern look like, right?
Yeah.
And maybe some little kind of graphical elements that can be reused in different sizes and different contexts. And you have this house element also in the logo, right? And some of the logo lockups. So it kind of like creates this cohesive experience of the brand. So I love it.
Yeah, I think there's such a unique opportunity to kind of create that whole like holistic experience with like product-based businesses, because there's so much like stuff that they need. So I think I want this to be even a little bit smaller scale. Yeah, there's like all the fun stuff that goes inside of the packaging, all of their in-store signage, tags, things like that. So that's why for me, that's like one of the most fun types of businesses to work with, because there's just so many goodies that you can play around with.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love it.
Okay, so I think that mockup is good. I'm just going to click export it as a PNG file, and there. Move on to the next one. Yeah, I feel like this is such a fun, like creating the mockups and stuff. And
it's a fun part, right? It's like where the brand becomes alive.
It is. And this is what I always like to create these for client presentations as well, just because it's so much easier, again, to help them visualize what it's going to look like in the real world. So, this might not be exactly what their tissue paper or their signage ends up looking like, and I always say that too in my presentations, just because sometimes people don't read the fine print, I guess, but it's just like helps them kind of bridge that gap between oh, I'm seeing this on paper, but like what is it actually going to look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of playing with the imagination of how something could look like. It's helpful.
Yeah.
And us as designers, we can imagine things maybe how they will look like in different contexts, right?
Yeah.
But clients maybe can't. Maybe for them, this is the essential part that they need to see to be able to imagine the logo.
Exactly. And yeah, it just really goes a long way, I think, to bringing it to life. So like
Mm-hmm.
this looks, and also it's really nice for your portfolio, for social media as well, because, if you're working with a store that's on the other side of the country as you might not have a chance to go take pictures of their signage, or it might be, months and months before they get everything printed and put together. So you can kind of use these as a good way to showcase, your work that you did for them. Um, while you might be waiting for those things to be physical.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
And that's also kind of saving you some time because
mm-hmm.
you don't have like once you have the mock-ups, it's easy to just place them into your portfolio, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that's really, really helpful. I found that projects on Behance, things on Pinterest, get a lot more traction when you have these kind of like mock-ups, and people can kind of see like what it would look like, as opposed to just having like, a logo on
Graphics.
a
Yeah,
screen.
absolutely. Make it tangible. And that's why I always say to my students, whenever you create something like a mock-up, don't put lorem ipsum in it. Like right
Mm-hmm.
now, you're adding the detail store hours Monday through
Yeah.
Friday. You're not putting in lorem ipsum, da da da. This is how text could look like. You're making it
Mm-hmm.
real and tangible. So that's also another thing that's super beneficial when designing, especially passion projects,
Yeah.
right? Make it tangible, make it real, make it like as if it's already out there in the world.
Yeah. And I'm just making this up. Like, it's
Yeah,
just not, it doesn't have to be like
exactly.
crazy. Just
But
have fun with it.
you're forming the idea of the brand existing, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think that just goes, again, like a lot further to making it, again, feel real and feel like something that people can connect with, whether that's
Mm-hmm.
a, potential client that's seeing your work, or, whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
just like and it's fun. I mean, I've always like I always thought I was going to be a writer. So like coming up with stuff like this comes like easily to me, I would say.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, but because I'm probably never going to have a store, but if I did, this is what I would like it to be like.
Yeah, that's cool. I love it. Yeah, I'm just really curious. Usually, that's kind of like the reason why I experiment and try things out like that, is because
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see how will that look like if I have it on the storefront? How will it look like on
Yeah.
a website? How will it look like? And I want to show that also to the client,
Mm-hmm.
So it looks so tangible. It looks so real. I
I
love
know,
it.
it's like so cute. And I think that's good. But yeah, and then it's like, wow, it just really helps
Hmm.
them be like, oh yeah, this is like a real thing.
Yeah. I think clients also get really happy once they see it all really come to life.
Yeah, I've gotten so many comments and compliments from clients, putting together these presentations, and them saying like, oh my gosh, it was so much easier to, visualize everything and seeing it, even though it might not be the final product, like seeing it come together in these mock-ups.
Yeah, that's true. Gal is saying nice mock-ups, by the way. It makes
Oh,
the brand
thanks.
way more powerful with mock-ups.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree. And Paige is asking, where do you like to purchase your mock-ups? What are some, I think some of them we mentioned yesterday, but maybe to recap, what are some of your favorite resources?
Yeah, so a lot of them, I have some from Adobe stock that I'm going to dig into next. So that's a really, really great place. And like we were saying, they have tons of free ones. So you can find just about anything. If you have a really specific product kind of thing that you're designing for, something that I've recently discovered is called Yellow Images. And they have like products, like nice 3D mockups for like literally any kind of like packaging, any kind of product that you could imagine. So that's a really good one. And like a couple of like this one is from like a fellow designer. She created these herself, they're absolutely gorgeous. It's Rebecca Barrington. So they have a lot of really, really nice ones too. But yeah, there's there's lots and lots of free and, premium options out there all over the place. So just kind of exploring and having fun with it.
Yeah, usually if I'm looking for a specific product, let's say recently I was working with a meal prep business and I was looking for those specific packages that she's using to use as mock-up. So usually I look for the specific object and then put mock-up behind it, the word mock-up. So then I usually look through the Google results and then see, which platform has that specific mock-up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely helpful. And I love yellow images. I'm taking a look right now. It looks the mock-ups are all kind of having this similar style. And
yeah, they do a really good job. So those ones are nice if you just want an isolated, kind of transparent background thing to maybe do something else with. But yeah.
And another thing that you can do is you can make your own mock-ups.
Yeah. Yes.
That's even better because that will make you unique. Yes. Nobody will be able to have the same mock-up. Usually, when you look through portfolios, you will see the same mock-ups over and over, especially the ones that are free. You will see them over and over and over, and everybody's work kind of looks very similar because of that, right?
Yeah.
And you do want to stand out. You do want to be different as a designer. You want to be unique, and your projects become more tangible and more real looking if the mock-ups are unique. So I think it's definitely worth it to either invest some money into a mock-up that's not free, or to make them yourself also.
Yeah, and I would say too, it's surprisingly easy to create mockups. I think we talked about this a bit yesterday, but I've just taken some, you can honestly take it with your phone, take a flat lay of something. If you do a lot of web stuff or something like that, taking pictures of your laptop or, an iPad or something on a nice background. And then you can edit it the way that you want to, if you have a specific look for your feed. And it just is really specific to you, and no one else is going to have that. And then if you just drag it into Photoshop, you can, use the selection tool to kind of cut out the background of whatever it is or whatever you want to place your work on. And you have a magical, very custom mock-up.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I think Photoshop is a branding designer's friend for sure. Right. Okay, we have another question by Felipe to you, Lizzie. Where do you get inspiration from?
Yes. I love this question because I feel I'm constantly looking for inspiration. So obviously there's, Pinterest, Behance, Instagram, other designers and stuff like that. But, I feel if you only are looking at other people's design work, it can get, first of all, you can kind of get this comparison bug, which is never fun, but also you don't want to unintentionally, copy somebody or have your stuff look like everybody else's. So I like to kind of branch out too. I was saying yesterday, I get a lot of inspiration, specifically color inspiration from interior design. So I follow a ton of interiors and home decor accounts, especially on Instagram. Instagram is my my platform of choice.
Do you also end up saving a lot of stuff?
Oh yeah. So yeah, my Instagram saved folder is massive. It's
I think it's a pity. It's a pity that you cannot really share those.
I know. I've seen some people sometimes will screenshot them and tag people in them and stuff, but
yeah.
So yeah, I like that. I've recently been getting more into design books as well, which is not something that I'd previously really explored too much, but I bought a couple, just one is I think it's called the Designer's Dictionary of Color. And it just has,
that's cool.
It's got every single color you could possibly imagine. And then it has some curated pieces that, other designers from all over the world and all through time have used those colors with. And it has color combinations and stuff like that. It's just fun to look through. So I got that and a couple other ones, I think, while I was on vacation last. And it's been really fun to just have those and tangible things that you can look through. And then you
Oh
know that you're
yeah.
not using the exact same color palette as every single person on Pinterest or Instagram.
Yeah, I love it. And I love those examples also, guys. Take a look. There is there are actually like layouts where that specific color is used. So super cool. I love it. And by the way, in about 24 minutes, 25 minutes, we have the artist spotlight. So make sure to submit your favorite friends, artists who are artists, or submit yourself. Just click on artist spotlight above the chat and fill out the form. And I'm so excited to see who we got today.
Yeah. Right now I'm just having fun making like fictional candles, but
Cool.
I just like, yeah.
I love your, okay, so maybe we can continue with your inspirational resources. So you were talking about books and what else? What else is there? Books, Instagram, anything else that kind of inspires you in your day-to-day?
Yeah. I have been doing I've been getting a lot of like physical magazines as well, which is something that I always used to love. Like as a teenager, I would always, get tons of magazines and like cut things out, make collages and mood boards and stuff like that. And then, with the the rise of like Pinterest and all of these like online curation tools, I kind of like got out of the habit of it. But a few weeks ago, I was just feeling like particularly uninspired. So I grabbed a stack of like magazines last time I was at the store and just like flipping through them and like cutting things out that I liked, or like fonts that I liked, or various like, type treatments. It was just fun. And then like sticking them up on my bulletin board like I was in high school again. Like it's nice. And then I have this little curated mood board of inspiration every time I sit down at my desk too.
That's cute. I love it.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
What about you, Julia? Where do you get inspiration from?
Yeah, similar, I would say similar places like you, but another thing that I really like for color inspiration specifically, there's something that's called Adobe Capture. I'm like talking about this every single time I'm hosting somebody, but it's a really cool app that you can download on your mobile devices, and then you can use your live camera to sample colors in your environment.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so you can save them directly to your libraries, kind of like you have the inspiration library. I have one where those color palettes are saved that I just like screenshotted either from any designs that I like. So you can not only use the live camera in your environment, you can also take pictures or take screenshots of maybe an illustration that you love or any kind of design that you love, and kind of extract the colors from their color palettes. So
that's really cool.
Fun.
I want to play with that.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. And then I also love to do like 3D stuff. Recently, I've started going more into 3D and exploring like textures, materials. And with Capture, you can also sample materials and then save them to your libraries and apply to 3D objects. So that's another really fun thing.
Yeah, you're checking that out.
And another thing that I was thinking of, actually really cool kind of way to get colors, when you go to, let's say, Home Depot or a place where they're selling paint, they usually have those color swatches. And those, you can kind of like look at them, place them. They're also free, right? So you can kind of put together a specific. Exactly. So I was thinking I want to do that next. So my friends from Weekend Creative, some of you might know them, did that for because they are building basically little scenes for their photography projects. And they're usually using a lot of color, and they're using paint to kind of paint those specific objects that they're placing. So they actually kind of sampled those colors or took the color samples from I think it was Home Depot or something.
That's super cool.
So yeah, I love that. And what else? I love seeing experimental design, like somebody who is just like really crazy with pairing fonts, or so I love all of those, artists that are not very kind of popular, but they're so experimental and so fun and so like different. I love to get those kind of accounts show up on my Instagram feed.
Yeah, just something that's like totally out of the box of like what you would do, it's sometimes really like fun to, yeah, follow them, keep an eye on what they're doing, just because it's like, oh wow, I never would have thought about that, but it looks awesome.
Yeah. Also, like fashion brands like Gucci, for example, I love Gucci. And the
Mm-hmm.
way their artistic direction kind of always um, changes,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? And this kind of experimental artistic vision is part of their brand, though. So their
Mm-hmm.
brand always changing and adapting to different seasons, to different trends. Um, yeah, it's part of their identity, which is so
Yeah.
cool.
And too, especially with those big fashion brands, like that's something that's so like well thought out and curated and stuff like that too. So it's nothing is by accident that they're doing, which is really nice. Like you can get a lot of inspiration for, making your brand stand out from watching those bigger names as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love fashion.
Me
I
too.
always wanted to have like my own fashion brand, like you
Oh,
were
cool. Mm-hmm.
talking about earlier. You also were kind of like into that. And when I was younger, I was super into like interior design
Mm-hmm.
and editorial. I was actually imagining myself like one of those those movies where this girl kind of gets that job in a fancy office and
Mm-hmm.
kind of always dresses up to go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, never happened, but I love my life the way it is right now. I don't have to
Yeah.
dress up just for
Yeah.
the streams. Otherwise, I'm very casual. I love just being comfy and being surrounded by
Mm-hmm.
my dog. And yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the whole like dressing up and stuff like that seemed like such a cool idea when you were like a teenager. And
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, actually, I would much rather just be in leggings and a t-shirt at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. And we have Sam joining us. Cool. Hi, Sam. Good to see you. Yeah, and Budwal and Sam both are saying Adobe Capture is magic. Yeah, I love
That's
it. I think it's so fun. I'm excited
mm-hmm.
to see what's so Adobe Max is usually kind of the place where new things are getting launched
Mm-hmm.
and updates are being released and kind of significant changes are being made to the different platforms. So I'm really
Mm-hmm.
excited what's going to be going on with Capture and how that's going to be kind of playing into things. And there's also a lot happening in the 3D
Mm-hmm.
world of Adobe. So that's also really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to see like what new fun stuff is coming up. That's always like one of my favorite parts.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So I feel like we have a lot of mock-ups, and I'm gonna kind of go into working on how I would present this to a client, since that seems
Mhm.
like something that a lot of people are interested in. So I opened up this template document I have. This is a condensed version of what I would send to my client. Usually there's a lot more like exposition and writing and stuff in it. But I have this, and then typically what I do is I'll create like a new library folder with like the colors and stuff so they're easily at hand, and then I can just kind of drag and drop everything into my InDesign template. So let me do that.
Oh, my belly starts it's getting grumpy. Yeah, it's lunchtime.
Oh
Almost
yeah.
here. You are in Eastern time zone, so it's 4:13, right? Over there.
Yeah, yep. So I was able to
Cool.
have some Panera before we hopped on.
Nice. Yeah, I love the soup and sandwich
Mm-hmm.
combo. That was great. Yeah. Cool. So, do you have any template that you always use and reuse for your clients, or do you kind of always build it new?
No, I typically try to use that like a version of that same template that I'm gonna show. Just because I feel like I definitely used to like do create new things every single time, and it just was such a I guess, waste of time, honestly, when, I would be typing out the same information or using the same like layouts really each time. So creating that for myself, I've purchased various like other templates from other designers and kind of like created a big like mishmash, like amalgamation of what works best for me and my clients, which I think is like the way to go, because you just don't like know what you're going to want, I guess, until you kind of experiment with things, see what questions come up from clients and how you kind of answer that and do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And what do you think about so branding inside the presentation? Do you usually use your own personal branding, or do you adjust the presentation to the client's brand?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth with that a lot. Typically now I will pretty much use a version of the client's color palette. And then, so like, I have pretty minimal like writing and stuff on this, but I just keep these like my brand fonts just because they're like neutral enough, because I'm not using like my big display font that it just kind of blends in with everything. I went back and forth on that for a long time, and then I finally was like, I'm pretty sure that nobody else except for like the designers are thinking this like intensely about it. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true. Yeah, absolutely. As long as you choose something very neutral and something that kind of works with every brand, I agree.
Yeah.
Cool. Felipe coming in here with a question. What's your favorite food? Speaking of food.
Yeah.
Ooh. So Lizzie, what's yours?
I'm pretty sure it's like anything pasta based is my favorite food.
Oh, okay. That's
Love
cool.
pasta. What about you?
Yeah, pasta is fun. So I have like this very simple recipe that I just repeat when I don't have no other ideas, and it's pretty healthy. So I found it kind of work really well with also the time that it takes to cook. So I usually take a piece of salmon, air fry it, and put some pesto on it, and that I eat with a Caesar salad. And yeah, I found that's like a really nice combination. And I also always add some like sunflower seeds to it.
That sounds really good.
Yeah,
I love anything.
I'm getting
with
hungry.
Pesto. I know. We need to stop talking about food.
Yeah. Yeah, pesto is awesome. And salmon is I always feel so healthy when I eat it. I feel like I'm just like getting more like nicer nails and better skin and all of that stuff. Yeah, food is so important.
Yes. Okay, so this is typically like what I do, just kind of drag and drop. I usually either do like the main logo if it's the second like round of like revisions, so they've seen it already. I'll put like the logo here. Otherwise, I'll just type out the brand name just so I don't like ruin the surprise the first time. But I'll just like put that there for now. So typically like what I'll do. So I have like the primary logo, and then I have this other page where it's going to be the same thing, but then I kind of like call out different parts of the logo and kind of like why, like what those kind of mean and why I made those choices. And that kind of really helps people that aren't really design minded kind of put things together. And then I'll do like secondary logos, color combinations, and then like the colors here. And I do some kind of like where the inspiration for the colors came from, and then the typeface. Again, this is like a really condensed version of that document. I feel like if we have time at the end, I can show you like a full one because there's lots and lots of stuff that goes into it, I feel like, but for the sake of this,
it's kind of like a mini version of a brand guideline somewhat, right?
And it's kind of nice too, because I always put together, brand guidelines as well for my clients, but by doing this, then typically they're already like 90% put together, assuming that it, they stick with kind of the same thing.
That's super cool. Is that usually your workflow where you take the assets from Illustrator, save them to your CC libraries, and then drag and drop them from the libraries to the InDesign document?
Yeah, that's typically what I do for the first time, just because then I don't have to like go through the process of like exporting all the files, especially if they're gonna like change a bunch of stuff. But
yeah,
I just find
I
that's
love
like
libraries.
I know, me too.
Libraries are so cool. And so the thing with me is, since I was talking about the 3D, right? The 3D work, I can also use those libraries in any other apps. So even if I go into 3D, I can just, I think we were talking about it quickly yesterday. You can just take the assets, like the logo, for example, drag and drop them onto a 3D object. And there you have a custom mockup, you know, just so easy. So I love CC libraries. I think they have been such a great addition to my workflow, making it, you know, stopping that constant export of assets and just making them accessible everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I just love that it like immediately is available on like this. Like I just dragged all of those over there in Illustrator and they're right here. Like there's no lag, there's no anything, that's just like immediately available. Very helpful.
Yeah.
So for this, I would just kind of write like reasons or like what I feel like this conveys. So like for all of my projects with clients, I do like a lot of brand discovery and strategy up front. So we'll have like, you know, keywords and things that they want their brand to convey. So then I'll kind of call back to that and say like, here's why this logo, you know, is going to attract your ideal clients, and it, you know, is going to make them feel whatever. So like in this case, I feel like the hand-drawn, you know, look of the typeface. I'm gonna write and type at the same time, but kind of pulls in that cozy vibe. So I would probably say something like that, and then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, it does."
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, in just a couple minutes, we're doing the artist spotlight. So feel free to nominate yourself or any other designer or artist that you know, maybe somebody from the chat, by filling out the artist spotlight form above the chat. So just click on artist spotlight and fill out the form.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And we have about 7.5 minutes up until that. And Lizzie, you'll still have a bunch of time after that. So don't worry.
Okay.
Cool. I love your template. I feel like it's very easy to kind of customize. And so you've saved that as a template file in InDesign?
Yeah, so then it's just always easily accessible, and I don't have to go digging for things or, you know, try to remember like, oh, how did I put that together last time? So that's like one thing I would highly recommend for everyone's workflow is creating your own little like template versions, because it makes things a lot speedier.
Yeah, absolutely. And that means you're making more per hour.
Exactly. I find it like strangely relaxing to just like create these documents too. It's just like dragging and dropping and placing things in the correct order.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. I think it's looking lovely. I'm loving your design.
Thanks.
What's everybody thinking? Let us know in the chat what you think.
Be nice, please. No, I just really like this like earthy, warm toned like color palette too, especially as we're hopefully like gearing up for fall too. I've just been like really drawn to these colors.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I really love the fall, and I think I also love the winter. It's this like Christmassy, like cozy fireplace feeling.
Yeah, and I think that's like good weather for like staying inside and watching Netflix and like being cozy. I'm here for.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dennis is saying in the chat, Control Shift and E fit in proportionally into the frame. Could work.
Oh.
Cool, right?
Yeah, I was saying the other day, I'm like really bad at remembering to use the
shortcuts.
The keyboard shortcuts. I don't know. I just always like,
especially if you're working in several platforms at the same time, they're always kind of slightly different, slightly adjusted to the platform that you're using.
Yeah.
So yeah, I find myself also doing that. Cool. Laura's saying, looks really beautiful. I like the warm, earthy tones of this palette. Same here. I'm curious how you're talking about the colors in your presentation. Do you already define them, or do you just show the images of the colors?
I typically kind of draw or pull out like what I'm suggesting for like the color palette, just so they can kind of see like, not that it, you know, at this stage really matters, but I've like usually will do like the hex and CMYK codes and stuff like that, just so they can have it. And again, like it's less work for me than at the end when I'm putting together the brand things. But yeah, absolutely. I think, and I've started doing this like color combinations too with like one of the main logos or something. I feel like that's really helpful for them to see how they will like play together as well too, and kind of like go together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking so cute. I love it. And so do you sometimes present it in person on a video call, or do you usually do the video format that you were talking about earlier?
Nowadays I typically do just the video format. I feel like I've found that, you know, if you do it live, like there's definitely like benefits, but I feel like sometimes it makes the client feel like pressured to like have a response or to say like, oh, I love it, like right up front, when, you know, really I want them to take their time, you know, soak it in, do what they have to do to, you know, see how they really, I guess, feel about it. So yeah, I've kind of moved to doing just the like pre-recorded videos, but then it's like a nice in between like doing it in person or, you know, on a phone call or something like that, and just like sending over an email that's like a huge wall of text as well.
Yeah, that's great. I love, so I found it helpful to kind of see the client's reaction. Not that I kind of ask them about their opinion or their thoughts right away, but I find it helpful to see their facial expression when I present.
Yeah, you know? That's true.
See kind of the feedback. But again, we were talking about it yesterday, how every designer or every person is different. Sometimes some people want that, you know, that video conversation, and some don't. And sometimes I also get clients who don't like to turn on their video, who just like want to see you and see you present. So in that sense, it doesn't really make a difference, right?
Right.
Because you don't really see them anyways.
Yeah, but so you might as well just
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, it's I guess like everybody has to figure it out for themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's something I've learned about just I would say like everything, like process wise, is, you know, you're gonna learn how you like to do things, and you just kind of have to experiment and test things out and see what kind of makes sense for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. James is saying loving the mockups in InDesign. Cool.
Thanks. Yeah.
And Umacorn is also saying same, enjoying the tones.
I feel like they're just perfect for like this time of year.
Absolutely. And Dennis is saying, wow, love the color variations.
Thanks. Yeah, so I have my template that I use, but sometimes depending on, you know, the brand, every brand is different, I'll kind of make some tweaks. So like for this, I'm really feeling this like kind of limited color palette, so I just kind of deleted the rest of them and just stuck with the one for now. But, you know, I've had other brands that have, you know, 6, 7, 8 like colors. It just kind of depends. So
what's like the range of colors that you usually use? Like what's the amount of different tones that you usually have?
Yeah, I always have at least 4, I would say. I feel like I've been like expanding on my like color palettes lately and doing a lot more, just because as I've like worked with my own kind of branding, I've like found, you know, different applications or different usages for like different like tints and tones of the same like basic color family. So I feel like I end up putting together like a lot of like technically different colors, but they're really just like the monochrome variations of the colors.
Yeah.
But
Cool. Yeah, I usually also have somewhere between maybe 5 to 8, 4 to 8, something like that. A recent project of mine had a lot of color just because I also had to do some color art direction for illustration, for the web, and there's always kind of like a lot of variation that you need to make sure that the brand also has a lot of flexibility to be able to you know, adapt the colors. Awesome. Well, Lizzie, it's that time of the stream where we're doing the artist spotlight. So I'm super excited to see who we have today. All right. So are you all excited?
Drum roll.
All right, let's jump into my screen and let's take a look at who we have today.
Right.
And we have Hatem Mohammed today, is a graphic designer from Kiwano Media in Alexandria, Egypt. That's super cool. It's always great to see designers from like Egypt, from countries where I kind of want to travel to. I'm wondering how the design scene is there. You know, it will be so interesting to see. You know, what are the differences, cultural, maybe. I also realized that, you know, when I was traveling, that design is kind of different from place to place, right? Especially if you are in different continents. So it's always great to see kind of the culture behind the design. But anyway, so we have Hatem Mohammed today. Thank you so much for the person who has submitted Hatem's portfolio. This is a Behance portfolio. And so let's take a quick look at the about info. I'm excited to kind of have a background about the person. And so it says, who am I? 25 years old, graphic designer and photographer, born and living in Alexandria, Egypt. Started the graphics journey at the age of 17 and took it as a professional career at the age of 22.
Wow.
Interested in logo designing, photo manipulation, typography, branding, and photography. Cool. And we see top tools used: Photoshop, Illustrator, and Lightroom. So a lot about photography, I guess. So Lizzie, you're the guest, the guest of honor. What would you like? Which project would you like to see first?
Yeah, I really like that third over on the top with the little bottle.
The Even Pharma.
Yes.
Yeah, I was actually eyeballing that one as well. So let's take a look. Cool.
Oh wow.
Ooh. I think it's already kind of starting off really great, with nice like texture. It looks like the print is kind of popping out from the paper. I think it's made with Photoshop, but it looks really cool. And I think it's a great intro to the project. It kind of gives you the logo right away, some colors. It's very calm and kind of relaxing. So let's read real quick what it says. Coming from a scientific family who dedicated their lives to research of natural oils extraction, and their magnificent effect on the human body, was the first word in Evan's story. Okay, in laboratories, words were formed into lines and lines into chapters till Even Farmer was complete. So what does it mean? So Even stands for, is a masculine given name created in Wales by a Celtic Welsh nation, ethnic group native to Wales, derived from Lefan. They are variations of the name John. It's also related to the Irish word elogan, which means youth. Yeah, I can see that.
Cool. Yeah,
I can totally see that. Very rounded, very kind of playful shapes around here in the little emblem.
I like that they're including like all of this like storytelling and stuff too. Like I think that's like really like drawing you into.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. It's nice to have that background in the beginning of the project, right? Hair care and cosmetic products. Cool. Oh yeah. Okay. This is great. I love this. So it says this is kind of like symbolizing the female face. Then we have plants, and we have the hair thread.
That's really cool.
I love also this visualization of explaining the symbols behind the logo. Love it. Then we have packaging and labeling. Even hair oil products are divided into 4 main types: argan oil, tea tree oil, rosemary oil, and jojoba oil. Cool. And every oil kind of has their own image.
Oh, that's pretty.
And illustration, and also an assigned color, which is also really cool.
That's neat.
And here we're getting into the packaging where kind of the different SKUs of the oils are shown.
I love it when things have like their own colorways for each like type of product. That's fun.
Yeah, I love it. I also think the layout is really great here. Looks very professional.
Yeah.
And then looks like these photos are shot. Trial photo shoot, the label design took several stages and phases while working on it, and was shot in a variety of styles till we reached the final decision. These are some shots taken during the journey of creating this label from the beginning till the very end of the story. Very nice. I always appreciate it when people are taking their own images, and you can see how like all the things translate into the whole identity of the product.
Yeah. Wow, that velvet background is gorgeous.
Like looks really very classy. Yeah. I love this. Great job on the photos. I think the identity is very well translated with the photos. Cool. And as we were talking about it earlier, it's always great to make your own mock-ups or take your own photos. And it's really not that hard to print something like this, you know. You can just take the design, print, go to maybe a print shop and print a couple variations of it. Then you can take a bottle that you can find in the supermarket, replace the label, and there you have your product, you know.
Yeah.
So, and you can even take a photo of an existing product that's similar, and then kind of Photoshop it out, Photoshop out the graphics that are already on it and replace them with your graphics. Very nice.
So fun.
Yeah, I think it's always great to have some type of interaction, like an animation going, so that things are moving. And I think this is great.
Yeah.
And here again, we have the colors that are assigned to the different product SKUs. Great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Fun. Definitely appreciate it. Cool. All right, let's take a look at a Louvre. Cool. I love the little logo mark here that he has. I love the color combination of this like dark ash color / I don't know, it almost looks like a dark blue.
Yeah, it looks like blue to me a little bit.
Yeah,
like slate blue.
Yeah, but also a very kind of grayish looking blue. And then we have this emblem in this very warm gold tone. Warning, what you're going to see is a pure abstract logo. This means that it's not going to contain any type of building or any related architectural elements as sign of representing the original building. That's
cool.
Super. Yeah, I love it. I think it's really great. I would like to know, you know, what exactly are the thoughts behind this, kind of like in the previous project. But let's see. I think there's explanation coming here.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
there we go.
Cool.
There we go. The logo consists of various abstract shapes. Each one represents an element related to the main idea of bringing the life of France into Egypt. Okay. Mediterranean Sea, glass pyramid, the Louvre typography, the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, and the circle shape represents the Louvre building in Egypt, as it's including all the above elements with harmony.
That's
I love
really
that.
cool. Yeah.
I think having some explanations to the symbolism is so crucial.
Yeah, especially when it's more abstract like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fun.
Again, we have some animation going here, like a little GIF. Cool. I love it. I think this is a great style of presenting the ideas, really kind of into detail, step by step, kind of really building up that identity.
Yeah, I was going to say these case studies are like really well presented.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have some stationery going, some business cards, a little tote bag, or what's it called?
Like drawstring bag.
Like a drawstring bag, yeah. Cool. And then we have a little layout going in the background. Billboards, signs. Very nice. Yeah, this is great. I love the case studies. I think they're so into detail and very well presented. Hatem, great job. Yay. Yeah. Thank you so much, whoever submitted this. This was great insight, and I think we can learn a lot about kind of looking into the work of others. And this is such a great example of how to put together a case study. So this was great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Lizzie, let's jump back into your screen and let's do some final steps, finalizing your presentation. And let's get kind of finalizing the finalize the project and see.
Okay, so one thing I like to do also is give my the colors like fun names too, just because I think that, I don't know, it's fun and it helps kind of like solidify it with the clients as well. But so I wanted to show really quickly a website that I use when I like can't think of a color name. If I can find it. So name that color. So it's like kind of a long URL, but it's like the Chirag projects, name that color. And you can copy and paste your like color hex code into it, and it will basically bring up, so like, ooh, Costa del Sol, that's fun.
Oh wow.
I don't know, I think it says down here that the colors are like, the names are there's like Wikipedia, Crayola, color name dictionaries, so it's like taken from a bunch of different sources. Sometimes if I don't really like the color name that it lands on, I'll like drag it around, so like, and just kind of see what closer ones are. So like hemlock I really like. I think that's a good like name for this color. So I'm gonna go back over here and just type that in. Sometimes
that's super cool. There is also another so coolers, we were mentioning that yesterday. So coolers also gives you names for colors. That's also really exciting.
Fun. I don't think I realized that. Yeah, but it's just fun. Like sometimes I'll have a name like pop into my head, and other times I'm like staring at the color like, what am I gonna call this? So it's just fun.
Yeah, linen definitely.
I don't know if that's sand or not, but that's what I'm thinking. I won't bore you with all the hex codes and all that stuff, but I do typically do that as well. And then I like to just kind of put together what I would envision for their fonts as well, typography, kind of like hierarchy. And then again, kind of like describe like what I'm thinking. So subheading was News Gothic standard.
Cool.
And it just kind of gives them, again, like being able to see how it all works together and how they can kind of expect to start utilizing that, especially like if we're going to work on like printed things or their website as well. Just kind of helps, I would say.
Yeah. Cool. Just quickly gonna share that link, the name that color link in the chat. Voodoo already did a good job finding colors. Cool. All right. Yeah. Name that color. I think that's such a like a fun part of naming the colors. What I also love is finding the Pantones.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Pantone books, going through them and finding the exact match for that color. I love it.
I know. I always wanted to be, when I was little, I wanted to be the person that came up with the names for nail polishes or like paint colors. So that's kind of so like cool. What this feels to me.
That's so cool. I love that. That's so cute.
I have no idea still to this day who does that. Probably their creative directors or marketing.
Oh my God, it must be the best job ever. Imagine you just like sit there and be like, what are we gonna name this color? And then they're always getting really clever with like wordplay and so cool. Yeah.
So here I would just type something along the lines of like, oh, this typography combination is sleek and sophisticated while still having some handmade kind of charm that kind of, they go together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just kind of like helps the client kind of see like, oh yeah, I can see why you like chose those. And I can see that is kind of like how they're interacting. So, awesome. Yeah. That's a really quick kind of look at what I would do for this. And then I would just export it as a PDF. And again, like this is what I would do, like use Loom and just kind of like open it, open the PDF and kind of go through page by page. And a lot of times I end up feeling like I'm just like repeating kind of like what I wrote down, but I like it too because, some people don't like to read that much, or some people will just skim over it. And some people prefer to like listen to things. So I feel like it's a good kind of mixture of like, they're gonna get the information one way or another kind of thing.
Yeah. So you are sending the PDF also, right?
Yeah, I do send the PDF to you just so they can go back and look at it on their own terms as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I can also show kind of what a really like fleshed out one would look like, just because there's a lot more that goes into it. So yes.
Thanks for sharing all of this. I think this is some valuable stuff.
Yeah, I think that, there's a lot of like the admin kind of and the like project management stuff that goes into it too, that people might not always think about in terms of design. But yeah, so this is one that I recently sent off to a client of mine. She's an interior designer. So this, again, like, the thing that I use, like you can see, is 15 pages long. So there's lots of like upfront like brand strategy and like talking about like, here's why you should care about this. Here's why you should like, please read it all kind of. But here's her like logos like we saw. And again, kind of calling out specific things and details. So like including the date that your company was established really helps like showcase that you've, been around for a while, and then your clients know they can trust you and you're not gonna disappear in a year, because she's been in business since 2004. So I think that really says something.
Yeah, that's true.
And then just kind of some alternate logos. There's all of her sub logos. This is a slightly different layout than I was using, but just kind of like to, so like here's, these are smaller or like more graphical interpretations of the main logo. So it's really meant to kind of flesh it out and give you, more more ways to use your brand that's not just using the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So I feel like we used a similar color palette. So for her color palette, I think this one right here is her actual work. So we pulled a lot of like colors directly from like work that she has done. Because again, like interior design, I feel like that goes so well with graphic design too. So I wanted to, you know, have a really like have her have a connection with the colors and stuff, because that was something that she mentioned a lot. So these are like the layout or the color combinations. And again, that's typography. And then these are like the mock-ups and stuff that I use. So I tell them like, you know, these are meant to help you kind of visualize how it could be in real life. They're not necessarily like exactly what we're going to go with. So like I had business card mock-ups, you know, they're not necessarily like the mock-ups we're going to go to. So I use the same mock-up because I really like this one. And it had like the gold kind of foil on it too. It was like a nice print mock-up with more gold foil. And these were the
that's really cute. I like that.
Thank you. Her kind of, I felt like it was very sort of almost like art deco-y kind of looking with the
absolutely
submarks. And then I have this page at the end too. It's, you know, what do you like or dislike about it? Do you feel like this is going to resonate with your target audience? Why or why not? You know, things like that. So I found that like asking specific questions when you're sending something for feedback is, you end up getting a lot better feedback than if you just say like, here it is, what do you think? So yeah,
absolutely. And sometimes we also kind of have to educate the client that it's not about, hey, I like it or I don't like it, but you need to kind of show them how can they express their like their ideas or improvements or, you know, things that they don't like, but how can they tell you, how can they let you know what exactly is it that, you know, they don't like.
Yeah. And a lot of times they'll, what we call like kind of self-diagnose in a way. So they'll be like, oh, well, I would rather it be this color, or I don't like this font. You kind of have to like work with them to get to the deeper meaning of, okay, well, what you're really saying is you think that this font choice is too harsh and it's going to alienate your more like subtle and feminine like clientele. But again, like they're not graphic designers, so they're not used to working with, you know, typefaces and color palettes necessarily. So they don't have that, they don't necessarily have that language all the time. So you kind of have to like coach it out of them every once in a while. It is nice working with creatives. So like, you know, the interior designer, like she's used to getting her own client feedback and probably has the same frustrations about hers that, you know, we do about ours. So it's been nice working with her because I feel like they're different, like, they're different pathways, but they're very like similar. I would say like industries. So it's been fun.
Yeah, both are creating something new, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like that kind of gives a good basis of being able to give feedback and thinking more in a constructive way than, oh, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like there's always that gut reaction. And that's what I always kind of preface when I send them, you know, these presentations, and when I do my little like video and stuff too, I always say like, you know, please kind of think about this from the terms of your, you know, ideal clients or customers that we kind of identified in our first step together. You know, obviously I think it's important for them to like their branding as well, but really the most important thing is that it's attracting the correct clientele. So sometimes that's a hard kind of like shift to make for them, but other times, you know, if they've been in business a while, I feel like usually they're like, oh yeah, I know exactly like what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a lot of comments in the chat saying, thank you so much. This was such an amazing stream. We only have 2 minutes left, by the way. So everybody's saying this is beautiful and compact. Brand guide looks really great. Everybody's just saying that it's so in depth and great looking. Gal is saying it looks amazing. And Laura is saying thanks a lot for the great stream. Julia, Lizzie, and Val, this was very inspiring. Cool. I love that. I love all the terminology, inspiring, amazing. Love it. Thanks, guys. So Cool. All right. So this was a lot of fun. Lizzie, thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
all of your amazing knowledge. Do you have any last tip for someone who kind of wants to get dive into design? What's like your magic tip that you would want to give somebody on their way?
Yeah, I would say just experiment. I think we talked yesterday about, kind of like a daily design practice. Doing things and diving into it and just kind of getting your hands dirty, so to speak, is the best way that you're going to learn new skills and hone your own style. So just experimenting. I would say try to create more than you consume. That's something that I'm working on. So spend more time creating things than you are scrolling through social media.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody,
Yeah.
for joining us. It was such an amazing, 2 days of streaming with you, Lizzie. Everybody, go follow Lizzie's work on Asteria Studio Co. on
Mhm.
Instagram, or check out her website, asteriastudio.co. Get in touch with any
Yeah.
questions. And yeah, we wish you all a wonderful day, and thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for the program after this. We'll have the XD Daily Creative Challenge. So if you want to learn some new tools, stay tuned. And thank you all so much. Thanks, Lizzie, and hope to
Yeah.
see you all soon. Bye
Bye.
bye.